Today, we're talking with Danielle Pinnock, star of CBS's Ghosts, where she has played the late lamented and spectrally awesome Alberta, a Prohibition-era jazz singer since 2021. Let's just find out a little bit more about Alberta, Danielle. Why is she fabulous to play? Who is she? Like, give us context.
Well, Alberta has been a dream to play over the last 4 years. And I'm so grateful that we are getting a season 5 and a season 6 pickup, which is unheard of in this entertainment industry during this time. And so to have job security is truly a blessing. Alberta is a 1920s Prohibition era jazz singer. I liken her to a hidden figure in some ways. She may not be known in the history books, but I definitely believe she was performing with the greats like Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith. And she was dealing with a lot of turmoil during that time period. As rich as it was in the Harlem Renaissance, she was handling, racism and also what it was like being a plus size performer during that time. And these are also things that I can relate to as well as a plus size actress, as a Black woman in the entertainment industry. And so to be able to give life to her afterlife has been truly thrilling. The thing that I love most about Ghosts is it's not stereotypical. I think a lot of times what happens when you see any actor of color playing in, on broadcast television, we almost become decorations on a Christmas tree where we're just fun to look at, but no one really cares about our storylines. And Joe Port and Joe Wiseman and all of our writers have really come together to make sure that this character has so much life. I mean, she's reconnecting with her ancestry. She has a great grandniece, Alicia, which has been fabulous to play with. I always think that when I think about my ancestors, we put them in such a high regard, not realizing that they also can be a hot mess too. And so I love the comedic aspect of that. But I also love that she's able to find her love of music again with her great grandniece. And it really is a beautiful cultural moment. We had a great episode this season where we saw both of them singing, where Alberta was leading her great grandniece to figure out should she get married to this guy or not. And I always believe that, my grandmother passed away. And so I do believe that, like, she is watching over me. And maybe some of my missteps in life may have happened because of her. But it was a beautiful episode that was directed by Pete Chapman, a Black director with a Black writer, Akila Green, as well as me as the lead in the storyline. And so I love that Ghost honors the legacy of Black artists, and also they're able to stretch me in ways as an artist I've never been stretched before. And so that's Alberta, and I'm so grateful to play her.
I hear that you took lessons on how to sing after you got cast in the series. Are you still doing
I did.
that?
Yes, I am. I'm a theater nerd through and through. And it's so funny because my career in high school, my high school career, let's be clear, I did a lot of musicals. And that actually was how I got into acting. I had an incredible theater teacher. Her name is Jackie Sullivan, and she is everything and more to me because she saw something in me when no one else did. And thank God for my mom, who, as a single mom, was like, I don't have a lot of resources, but whatever I do have, I'm going to pour it into my child. And so I was sent to summer camps and piano lessons and singing lessons. And so to be able to do this on a grander scale on broadcast TV was a little nerve-wracking to begin with because I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope people like my voice. And so I did take lessons. I was taking tap, I was taking jazz, I was doing, and with the singing lessons, like I really wanted to make sure that I portrayed this character with so much authenticity because I know Alberta at the drop of a hat. If somebody asked her to do the Charleston, she would be able to do it. And so me as an actor, I need to be able to do that as well too. And it's also just acknowledging the legacies of the triple threats back in those times in the 1920s. I mean, my gosh, they could do it all. It wasn't social media, you know what I mean? And acting and singing. It was like, I can tap, I can play, I can do jazz, I can sing, I can scat. You want me to play an instrument? I'm gonna get behind this piano. And so as many of those skills that I could pick up, I really wanted to do it for this show. Also to just empower me as an actor. So I felt more comfortable fitting into Alberta's shoes. And so I'm so glad that I did it because it's paid off in such an amazing way.
Now, were you a jazz fan before all this? And if so, who is like your
Oh,
favorite musicians in this area?
oh my gosh, Bessie Smith, my gosh, is everything. Ella Fitzgerald, who I know is a little later than the 20s, but just absolutely obsessed. And my playlist to get ready includes all of those icons and those legends. And so that really does help me get into character as well too.
Season 2 really gave you a front and center focus because you were solving the crime about her murder, and that was a big plot point. You know, what was that like, sort of getting a bit more of the stage than you might normally?
I had no idea we were going to solve her murder in season 2. And so it was so delightful being able to go on the mystery with our writers as well. Because every time we got a new script, it was like we're solving little pieces. And so I loved it so much. What I will say about season 4 is that now that Alberta has solved her murder, she's open to experiencing vulnerability. I think she's open to finding love now. I think that was so high on the task list for her that she's like, okay, now that I know what's going on, I can breathe and let's see what else I can incorporate into my afterlife. You know, Trevor and Hetty are getting into relationships. Pete got a lover in the Caribbean. What's going on for your girl, Albert? And so I think we do see those great moments as well of, you know, even her coaching Sam through Anything Goes in the community theater group. Like she has such a freedom now that she's been released from those shackles of not knowing. And I love getting to see Alberta in her soft girl era, if you will. You know, I just love that for her. And she's such a vivacious character. But I also do believe that when she started off in season 1, she was very, you know, she's a diva. She's a diva through and through, a little self-centered, you know, and a little to herself, very braggadocious. But I do believe that a lot of that was her armor that she had to have in the 1920s as a performer. You know, not all performers are confident. You know, we know this. Like, they just have to kind of put this little mask on so that they can go out into the world. But a lot of us are homebodies. A lot of us are scared to wear our vulnerability on our sleeves. A lot of us have a lot of shame that we're like, no, we can't even deal with it. And I do believe that this season, she is tapping into all of these things, specifically also in this finale that I won't say too much about. But she has this, I mean, remarkable moment that was such a gift to me from the Joes that I was like, my gosh, I have this 2-page monologue and I'm like, are we on Scandal? I was like, this is giving Game of Thrones. But to be able to deliver that, knowing my theater roots, I mean, I was doing theater for 20 plus years before I was doing television. It really just empowered me in such a great way. And I cannot wait to see what is in store for Alberta for season 5 and 6.
One of the great things I think about a show like Ghosts is that you have this ensemble cast, right? So it's not just like, you know, you get all these different personalities and characters and everything to bounce off of. Can you tell me a little bit about working with such an ensemble and how that's a great thing to be doing and maybe what a challenge even might be?
It is a playground. We are having so much fun. And I know that a lot of people, you know, the only other experience I've had close to this was on Young Sheldon. And I was doing that show for 4 years as a guest star. And so to be on this, I've heard all these things about, oh my gosh, do you guys hate each other yet? What is it? What is there any tension on set? And I'm like, no, we're just like trying to find great restaurants in Montreal. You know, we really do celebrate each other as well too. And I think we've grown into being such a beautiful family. Season 1, I don't think a lot of people remember this, but we were shooting that show in the middle of the pandemic. And we were overseas. We were away from our families. Some of our families couldn't travel with us at that time. And so we really were quarantined together. And we learned very quickly how we work and how we like to do things on set and what our insecurities are and our strengths. And we really build each other up. I think I'm in the most fortunate position being on this show because I work with some of the most gifted comedians on the planet Earth. but also the most kindest humans as well too. And so, yeah, we're having a blast. Anytime Thorfinn speaks, Devin Long kills me. Like the funniest person ever. And anytime Rebecca has a quip as Hetty, there's this great line that she said that is probably one of my favorite lines of the season. And it's so short, where she's like, "Oh, yes, we were very wealthy. I actually had a zipper." I don't know why that line is so to me. I mean, our writers are truly incredible, but it really does feel like we are, Rebecca always says when we're working on a scene, we really need to find the musicality. She was, really talking about this a lot in season one as we were finding our footing. And I feel right now, not only do we have the musicality, we're singing, we're soaring. And I love that our audiences love this show so much. And what I am hoping is that we start to get even more awards recognition, because I do believe that this show deserves it. We are the underdogs, right now in broadcast TV. And there are so many things, whether it's the actors themselves, our writers, our wardrobe department, our set design is unreal. I think if people walk on that set, it will take their breath away, and it's filmed like a movie. It really is. And so I am excited to get back on set with them for season 5 and 6. It was so great seeing them yesterday for the FYC panel. We have a ball.
You got to do 22 of these a year, which is very traditional, old school broadcast. But these days, people do 10 episodes, 8 episodes, 13 episodes. I mean, 22 episodes. Like, what is a challenge of trying to do 22 of those things?
You know what? I have to say, the biggest thing for me is the different seasons, right? And so, like, summer is fabulous. Summer is fantastic. I mean, and also remember, we have to wear the same costume all the time. And so summer does get a little hot in that crushed velvet. I will say that is a challenge. It does get a little hot. But once we get into those winter months, I thought that I would hate it, because I'm like, I'm based in Los Angeles now, but I'm originally from Jersey. And I just remember kind of the trauma of shoveling snow all the time and, black ice and all of that. But it really is quite beautiful. I mean, we have snowball fights and we are just like, we love it. We really do. And we have the best crew in Montreal. And it is such a beautiful place to film. I know a lot of us now, we're going into season 5 and we're like, we need to learn French. The first couple of years we were like, okay, is it going to keep going? And now we're like, okay, we got 5 and 6. We better be fluent by the end of season 6. And so I think a lot of us will be in French class this coming season.
It's almost like going to college. You're singing, you're dancing, you're taking lessons. Now it's time for the language lessons.
We I gotta leave here knowing French. I have to. It's a must.
What is it that you think that audiences and voters are responding to about her? Like, you're in a great ensemble cast, but what is it that makes her stand out?
The thing that I think about, the thing that I feel makes Alberta stand out is her authenticity. She has some of the best one-liners on the show. She does. And I know everyone's always like, your facial expressions. But I also do believe that a lot of people struggle when it comes to being vulnerable, especially in a world that is so internet based and digital based. Like, we are behind these phones and behind these laptops, masking who we really are and just commenting on everything. But if that person came to you face to face, people may be a little shook about that, And so I do believe that Alberta is so authentically herself, but she also does struggle with being vulnerable. And I think the fear of possibly losing herself, the fear of possibly losing her street cred, the fear of not knowing what a healthy love looks like as well too, because Alberta is used to these dopamine hits of kind of relationships with these murderers and these gangsters. And she did make a lot of poor decisions in her life. But the other thing about her that I think is just so interesting is that she's dealing with the regret of not having children. That was something that she wanted. I don't know if a lot of people remember that, but like, there was this great episode with her and her descendant, and she talks to Sam and she says, I died too early. I never got the chance to have kids. And so my great grandniece, even though she can't see me, this is my shot. at being a mom in some ways, of being the, the cool auntie in some ways, even though it's from the afterlife. And so I think she's a mom. She's a mom. She reminds people of their moms, their grandmothers. You know what I mean? Like the friends that are just gonna take that straight shot, and you're like, oh girl, that was tough. But I do think that she brings a lot of joy and a lot of heart to the show. And I also do believe that my social media as well too, in terms of people seeing our behind the scenes of how we're filming, what's going on, like all of those things I think are helping Alberta get the visibility. And so I'm grateful to our fans. I know I keep saying I'm grateful, but I really am, because to be able to support my family, to be able to live out my dreams, these are dreams that I've wanted for 20 plus years, working in comedy houses and working in, off Broadway theaters, and now being able to be on broadcast TV where 7 to 10 million people are watching this series. This show deserves all of the award recognition. And I'm not saying this on my behalf. I've gotten my NAACP Image Award. I'm good. That was an award I wanted since I was a kid. But I do believe that this cast is so deserving of recognition. And I will say it till the cows come home. I really do believe that.
Yeah. And now, a little bit earlier, you mentioned about there's Black representation on the show behind the scenes as well. And obviously you got another award. You got a Webby back in 2018 for #booked, which is your Instagram series. Yeah. But, it was about challenges that the Black women are facing in the entertainment industry. Do you think that there's better representation all around? And are there new issues that might be cropping up?
Well, I'm not gonna hold you. I'm a little nervous as to all of these new laws that are coming about, especially in regards to diversity. I think we had a really great run in the pandemic, where people actually cared to hear about our voices, where Black producers were getting deals, and actors were able to be seen in roles that they may not necessarily have been seen in. And so we have the rise of also these artists like Issa Rae and Quinta Brunson and Lena Waithe and all of these Black women that I truly, truly admire. And now I look on Deadline and it's like, this person's deal is not being renewed. This show is not being picked up. Well, we don't know if we can have a Black lead now due to the things that are happening in government with diversity and DEI initiatives. And so I worry with what representation will look like in the next few years. However, with that being said, we are a resilient people. You know what I mean? And so I will always create, regardless of who is in office, I will always make sure that my friends and my community, the people that have brought me to this place, that I will find them work. I just had lunch with Niecy Nash recently, and she said, anytime you're in a job, try to find somebody else a job in that job, essentially. And that is how I have been my entire life. My mother taught me that, and my mentors that I have now. And so regardless of whoever's in office, I will make sure to work, and I will make sure I put my hand out so I can grab them to get into that next job as well too.
What would you still like to see Alberta do? What's sort of your dream scenario for her?
Well, she may or may not be in a relationship. And so I'm very curious to see what that looks like for her. Also, there are some big things that are happening with one of the characters and the world that the Joes have built in terms of the other parts of the afterlife. And so we have hell. We also have, the people that get sucked off, as we say on our show. And I'm very interested in seeing what those other worlds look like. We've mentioned parts of it, like Elias has this line where he's like, oh yeah, and that floor is literally made of snakes, things like that. But I'm very curious as to what the underworld looks like. And I would love for us to go on a grand adventure to saving our friend. And so I'll kind of leave it at that. I will. And, but I will say that there are other, it's so funny when we get to do scenes together, there are some combinations of scenes like where some of us haven't had big storylines together. And so I would love to do something with Rahman, Zaragoza. I think Alberta and Sasapis would be a great combination. I love what we've started with Alberta and Thorfinn. And so I would just love to get some different combinations in there as well too, and just see what sparks.
Sounds great. I was actually having this picture of you talking about all the different floors and everything. And I'm thinking, I know it's a different network and it's not on anymore, but I feel like Ghosts and The Good Place could do a
It would
crossover.
be the perfect crossover. It would be
Exactly.
the perfect crossover because we have, like, they said that in the underworld, Chumbawamba, it's like all of a sudden I'm like, who are the other musicians? Who's also singing down there? Like, are there musicians that be going from heaven to hell? Like, are they on world? Is that what their world tour looks like now? Like, I'm just so curious as to what the underworld could look like.